Greetings sir, myself Deepan and my register number is 19MI0102. I have chosen the title Decorator pattern for my digital assignment. So here is the quick agenda of this video. What is Decorator pattern? Real world examples of Decorator pattern, applicabilities, implementation, consequences and related patterns for the Decorator pattern. So what is decorator pattern? A decorator pattern is a structural design pattern in object-oriented programming. Before going to the decorator pattern, let us discuss about what is a structural design pattern. Structural design pattern is a blueprint of how objects and classes are combined together to form a bigger structure for achieving multiple goals together. So this is what the simple examples of the structural design pattern. So coming back to the decorator pattern, it allows us dynamically add functionalities and behavior to the object without affecting the behavior of other existing objects within the same class. So basically it adds the functionalities towards the object and also the classes. Here is the real world example. I have considered one customer, worker and also food truck van. So whenever the customer orders ice cream, so that the worker can deliver it soon because it is an ordinary ice cream. So whenever the customer asks for a candy or another type of ice creams, so it takes a little bit of time to make it. So in the technical domain, it should add the functionalities. So it occurs dynamically, right? So it takes time like a little bit of 2 to 3, but it works as a dynamically. So after working it, so that the worker can deliver it to the customer. Applicabilities. So a decorator is the name used for a software design pattern that allows behavior to be added to a function methods or classes without having to directly use a subclasses or change the source code of the function being decorated. Let us take an example, a geo app. So I know what plant to be registered. So it displays all the plant dynamically. So when I click a particular plant, it describes about the what type of data should be like a 2 GB per month or a 2 GB per day. So it occurs dynamically, right? So it is because of the decorator pattern. So new functionality is added dynamically when I click on it. So we use the inheritance or compositions to extend the behavior of the object, but this is done at compile time and it applicable to all the instance of the class. So I'll explain it in a little bit of seconds when I shows the implement screen. So mainly when we are using the decorator pattern is mostly used in the implementing cache. So as previously explained, whenever the customer orders the candy ice cream, it takes a little bit of time because it should add the dynamically. When it comes to this UI app also, it takes a little bit of loading seconds, right? It may depend on the internet speed and also the dynamically added functionalities. So implementation, here is the small example which I am going to explain about the decorator pattern. Let us consider a user. So user, here is the main motto of this implementation is like a food ordering system. So here is the user, whenever he orders a food, it asks about a type of food, whether it is a veg or a non-veg. So if user clicks on veg, it displays the resultant screen which tells about the food name and also the cost of the food. So when he clicks on the non-veg screen, so it displays about the resultant food item and also the resultant items rates, sorry, right. So I'll show about the implementation screen. So here is the implementation. I have totally used a 5 Notepad, 5 Java files to implement it. The main program is decorator pattern. Here is the main object which creates the classes for different functionalities. So food is the class name. So here is the interface food which prepares and also it displays the food name and also the food price. So here is the first class for creating the veg food. It returns the name and also returns the rate of the food. But when user adds it dynamically, so I am creating a dynamic class which should take the input of the food name and also it should display the food price. So here used the non-veg food extends food decorator. It displays this class. So whenever it uses the food decorator class, so it represents it displays the food name and also the food price. So it we can create many more using this particular decorator food decorator file. So when coming back to the main Java file, I have used this switch case for selecting the veg food and also the non-veg food. First one, veg food. If user clicks on veg food, it should display the resultant name and also the resultant price of the food. When clicks on the non-veg food, it should displays about the particular non-veg food and also the price of the non-veg food. So when clicks on 3, it should exit the program. So I'll implement it. So I am navigating to my desktop. I'm giving the respective command to run the file. This particular program is written in Java, so I am executing the Java compiler. So here it displays about the food menu 1, 2, 3, veg food, non-veg food, exit. So when I click on the veg food, it should when I click on veg food, when I press enter, it displays about the food name and also food price. So later on it asks any other food to be added. So when I click on the non-veg food, it displays the related food name and also the related price. When click on 3, it exits from the program. So basically here it is using the decorator pattern. It adds the food names dynamically. When I add another food, it implements a instance of an object to create a object which should be displayed to the customer. It basically adds a functionalities dynamically. Coming back to the slide. So here is the related consequences for the decorator pattern. Decorator might result in lot of small elements in our design which can be difficult to manage. So let us consider a huge application. It takes a many more lines of code to implement it. So it takes time to run, right, in a real world. So this design pattern is not beginner friendly. So whenever a novice user enters into the program, so you may think that the reusability of code is done. So it is not reusability because of design patterns. Because of the decorator pattern, we are using the reusability like the functionalities of the code. A decorator and its component are not identical. Yeah, it can lead to a system with lot of little objects that all look like alike to the programmers trying to maintain the code. As I said, when a novice user enters into the source code of the file, you may think like the same code is repeating dynamically. But it is due to the decorator pattern, right? So these are the consequences of the decorator pattern. So here is the related patterns for the decorator pattern, adapter pattern and also the composite pattern. There are many more, but I have mentioned only the adapter pattern and composite pattern. Adapter pattern. A decorator, yeah, is different from an adapter in that a decorator changes the object responsibilities, while an adapter changes an object interfaces. The decorator just changes the responsibilities of the particular class, but in adapter it changes the interface of the class. So composite pattern. A decorator can be viewed as a degenerated composite with only one component. However, a decorator adds additional responsibilities. A few applications that uses the decorator pattern are unit test, routing in Flash. This is the main example. Django middleware. So these are the few softwares that uses the decorator pattern as a base model. So decorators wraps the original object which consists of business logic and returns a new object that may or may not be related to the original object. So may have a doubt like when to use the decorator pattern. So the best way to express the decorator pattern is when we have an object that requires an extension X. So let us take a best example, this particular scene which displays my PPT. So I need the functionality like scroll bar and also the title bar which represents the title of this project in every slide. So it is a functionality, right, to be added. So let us consider another example. Consider a pen. If this pen ink is completed, so I can add another refill to it. So it is also a functionalities of this. So this is the overall concepts of the decorator pattern. Thank you, sir.